Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So continuing our series of talks during the rains. I think last week talked about the obstacle to peace, the 5 hindrances. So so this week I think I'll talk about the 5 spiritual qualities, the 5 indriyas that could help boost your practice. And before I do that, sometimes in the Theravadan tradition, we can be a bit of a cute joy kind of thing, always talking about greed, hatred, delusion, talking about your defilements, talking about suffering. But there is also another perspective. There is, there's joy, there's happiness, there's peace, there's simplicity. And just like we have the 5 obstacles to peace, there are the positive spiritual qualities that we can develop, focus on, to enhance our practice, to empower our practice, to bring a bit of joy and happiness into the mind. And like I said, the first of those is the 5 spiritual qualities. You also have the 5 factors of enlightenment, or the basis of spiritual powers. So those are the factors that lead to enlightenment. And so tonight we'll focus on the 5 spiritual qualities, and they are faith, saddha, virya, energy, sati, which is mindfulness or carefulness, awareness. And then you have samadhi, which is stillness. And the 5th one is wisdom, panya. Faith, energy, mindfulness, stillness, wisdom. And they are, I think they do go, they're causal. They build upon each other. So the first one is faith. Without faith, we wouldn't be here. You don't have faith in the Buddha, faith in the teaching, or faith in yourself that you can do this. You'd be at home, nice warm place, at the shopping mall, or some nice warm holiday in Europe or somewhere, instead of the cold monastery with no heating, lots of walking around. But because you have faith, you're here. You have faith that there's more to life than just getting things, getting your way, just making things, buying more things, making do with what is here. You have faith that there is something beyond this, that there is something that transcends the day-to-day life, the mundane existence of us. You have faith that you can make sense out of all this, that you have the clarity and the wisdom to understand things and to do things that improve your own life and the life of others. And faith is an important quality because that is the initial part that gets you moving, that gets you onto the sitting mat, to get you to the monastery. Faith is what start the search, the spiritual search, that there's something beyond all this. And sometimes I touch on that. There are many types of faith. First, you have to have faith that there is a Buddha, there is a teacher who is fully enlightened, who is wise, who knows what he's doing. You have to have faith in that there is that real person. It's not a fictional character. It's not something that we made up. It's not something in the other world. It's important that the Buddha was a human being, that he was of this world, that had flesh and blood like we are, had defilements, obstacles, just like the normal person. So we understand that. And there was also faith in the teaching, that once he became enlightened, he can explain the path of practice to each and every one of us. And that we have the capacity to also realize what the Buddha realized when he sat down. But faith is also a very fragile thing. Because we live in a world that with so much scandals, we live in a world that kind of encourages skepticism, that it doesn't come up. It takes some developing, nourishing, and it takes time for this faith to start to develop and become more stable. That's why sometimes faith, you're not going to stay very long. Your faith, when you first come, and faith comes in many different cycles. When you have faith, everything is beautiful. I remember going to a monastery the early years. It's just, I don't know where it came from, but so much faith came up. That everything's wonderful, so easy to get up. I flew out of your bed, couldn't wait to get to the morning chanting. Couldn't wait to learn the chanting. Couldn't wait to get the day started. Things are wonderful first few years. Because you have so much faith. Because faith comes energy, natural. You don't have to force yourself. You're just keen. When you see new people coming to the monastery, they're just keen. They just want to do everything. They want to show up to all the meetings, do extra meditation. And then you have the people who's been here a long time. They're like, Ajahn, do we really have to go to this 2 o'clock? Well, isn't today free day? We missed a free day last week. So I was trying to get out of it. Those are the jaded, long-term guests. But when you're new, everything is wonderful. Everything is sparkly. Everything is wonderful. And that's the product of faith. It brings up energy. And with faith in the teaching, faith in the teacher, faith in yourself, combination of those, life is easy. Everything is beautiful. Like I said, energy arises naturally when there's faith. But with anything, just realize that it fluctuates as well. And sometimes it's good to focus on it, develop it, to be conscious of it, to focus on things that rouses your faith. It could be, for yourself, myself, could be just reflecting on all the teachers you met, could be reflecting on the teachings you've read, or it could be reading, biographies of really inspiring teachers. So it's good to bring that conscious awareness of developing faith into your practice. Now, otherwise, yes, over time, what is new, beautiful, becomes, kind of worn down, jaded, boring. I remember staying in the monastery, with a teacher I found really, really inspiring. But then, you heard the Dhamma talk, every week, every Wednesday, here's Dhamma talk, here's same old jokes. So after the 50th time, you're like, oh my God, can't take this anymore. And you get bored, you get fed up. There what? Another talk on the 5 spiritual qualities, Ajahn? You say this every pansa. I do. Every few months I talk about this 5 spiritual qualities. It comes up over and over again. But if you are an old student, you might know, the point of these things is not to give you new information, because you can just Google all the information you want. All the Dhamma you want, you just Google it. The point of these talks is to connect, to bring what is, timely, and to mostly to encourage and inspire you to practice on your own. And also just remind all the different teachings, because we all have heard it. You're in the monastery right here and right now. You've heard so many talks already. Man, so many different teachers, and yet you're still not enlightened. Why is that? Why is that? You collected hours and hours of Dhamma talk. If this was a course that you've taken, you've got 3 PhDs by now, I think. All the things you've listened to and heard. But the Dhamma is not like that. You can't study your way to Nirvana. You have to realize, bring the teaching into your heart, to your core. Just can't, it's not something, Dhamma is not something just to be understood or thought about. Dhamma is something that you have to become. When you realize this teaching, you have to become Dhamma. And that's where suffering ceases. Until then, it's just a thought, an idea. And I say this over and over again to people. Reading a book about Dhamma is like, reading a guidebook. It's sort of like, you've never been to London. You read the guidebook, it tells you, where the clock is, what the name of the Big Ben is. Where Big Ben is. You read about what Amaravati is. You have an idea what that is. But it's very different when you actually go there. So different. So much more details that you would have never picked up. Even the best guidebook. So the difference between reading a book and being there is like that. The same thing with the Dhamma practice. Reading gives you a direction, where to go, but it's not there yet. Same as you hear Ajahn Chah talking about, it's like, reading about a fruit and actually tasting it. Yeah, the famous simile Ajahn Chah was used, You read about durian, and you've never been to the West, to Thailand, you don't know what durian looks like. So you read about different books, and it says, durian looks like this, it's kind of prickly. There's 300 different types of durian. It grows between Thailand and Malaysia. And you're really interested to read more books about it. And there's different types and different tastes of the different dessert you can make with durian. And after a while, even though you haven't been to Thailand, you haven't tasted durian, you read so many books that you realize, I think I know what durians are. I think I'll start writing my own books. Durians are like this. So write your own book, durian. You still haven't tasted. So you really don't know. So reading these books gives you an impression sometimes that you really know and you don't. It's only when you taste durian we really know what the taste is like, beyond the words, beyond the books, beyond the ideas. And Dhamma is like that. To realize Dhamma is just beyond our conceptual thinking or ideas or what it is like. It takes patience, takes practice, takes perseverance. But the practice becomes easy. If you have faith, energy arises. With energy, you are awake, alert. You're not just going through the day hoping your free day comes up. Oh God, my free day. Oh, I gotta get to free day. Things are bright, you're happy, clear, present. And that's the function of energy. With energy, you're naturally mindful. Because you're awake and aware and present. Because sometimes you hear it over and over again, and it's an overused word, but it has this function. Be mindful, be mindful. Be mindful which the different drinks the monks are having. Be mindful where we want our cups. Be mindful how to do things. Be mindful, when you work in the kitchen, you're aware of what's happening. So when you are awake, aware, and alert, you know where you are. You're in the kitchen, you can work in a different environment. It's quiet in the mornings, okay, you clean up, get things ready. 9:30, you have a big busload of people. You're not flustered, you're awake and aware, you know how to adapt to change. You move the dishes aside, you set things up, make room for the new people, bring out the chair and the table, help greet the guest. So you're awake and aware, and you're stable, you're calm, you're happy, you're open. And this happens naturally because you have faith, energy, you're naturally awake and aware. You're mindful. Like I was saying last week, careful in the sense that you care. You're full of care and compassion. And you're aware, you're present. That is mindfulness in its essence. It's natural. But until then, we do have exercises that you do to be aware. Where's my body? Where's my breath? Where are my exercises? Keep you aware. Or I usually mention as well in the beginning of pansas, when you're eating, just a good exercise to be awake, aware of the eating process is just to count. How many mouthfuls does it take before you're full? And just count every day. 1, 2, 3. Is it 30 mouthfuls? Is it 40, 50? Is it 20? When is it full? And when you actually stop? Or the other one of mindful practice is how many times do you chew before you swallow? Well, you chew your food before you swallow. It's not, chewing more is not better. It's not, less is better. It's just, wonder how many times I chew my food before I swallow. And does that change with the type of food? Is it a salad, the rice, the chicken, tofu? Is it different? How many times you chew before you swallow? It's just kind of like these different exercises that you can use just to enhance your awareness, your mindfulness. You're awake, aware. Then you'll find when you sit down, you're not lost on thinking, lost in your fantasies, obsessing about different things. When you sit down to meditate, samadhi is easy because you've been awake, mindful throughout the day. In all your activities, you're there. When you're cutting the fruit, you're cutting. When you're cleaning the toilet, you're with the motion. You're with the process of the cleaning. You're not thinking what you're going to do when you get back to your hut. You're not thinking what you're going to do when you leave the monastery with all the different things. But, get lost in the past of things you used to do, or who said what to whom, who upset you yesterday, what they say. You're here in the present, in the now. So samadhi is easy when the mind is mindful. When you're mindful, samadhi comes naturally. Mind becomes still. It's easy to watch the breath. Watch the breath for minutes on end without veering to the future or getting stuck in the past. Because you've been practicing staying present all throughout the day. So when you sit down, the mind is in the present moment. And when it's not doing anything, It stays unto its object of meditation. With the body, the breath, and the mantra, whatever you put in your mind, it stays there. It's malleable, it's easy, soft, easy to work with. That's the qualities of samadhi, stillness. And when the mind is still, has power, so much of the energy in the mind, it gets lost through too much thinking, through too much activity. Same with the body. If you do the body a lot, your body gets tired. The mind thinks a lot, it's obsessed over something, it wears itself out. And there's no energy. But if it's become still, then power builds up, clarity builds up. And that's the qualities of samadhi. You're still, but also powerful, full of energy. Whereas in the physical world, you're kind of falling to sleep or something. But a mind that is in samadhi is still, perfectly still, but perfectly bright, perfectly aware, perfectly clear. In that powerful mind, you can see clearly. Wisdom arises. You can see into the three characteristics. What we take to be permanent is so impermanent. What we take to be stable, this identity, me and myself and my body, you realize that it's not really yours. You don't really control it. You're born into this body and it grows through the four elements. When you eat, it ages according to its own process. You can't influence that. You can't stop the aging process. And different things starts to, and as you age, different things starts to fall off, not work properly. That's all process. You see that clearly. What you take to be me and mine is just a habit, just a delusion, just a way of, just a convention, so we can work with it. Or what you take to be happiness, traveling around the world, oh, so wonderful, really. You have to pack everything up, stand in line, get COVID, pay a lot of money. Is that really happiness? They say, oh, you guys are so, I feel so sorry for you guys. You guys are so lonely. You're in the monastery. When we go home, do you get bored, Bhante? No, when you go home, we're really happy. It's nice and quiet. You go back to our hut. And no, lonely, and I was trying to explain to people, loneliness is a feeling that when you're by yourself, you don't want to be by yourself. So that's why you're lonely. But when you're by yourself, you're happy to be by yourself, you're not lonely. No such thing. Loneliness is feeling that we're apart. We're different, we're separated, we're alienated from the people around us, from humanity. But if you have a mind that is still, that is present, that is soft, then you feel, even though you're by yourself in your hut, you feel really connected to the world around you, to the animals, to the humans. You feel this connection with all beings around you. Because you understand you're part of nature. You're not different, above. You're part of the human nature of things arising, being present for a little bit, and fading away in good time. Sometimes I sit here and I wonder, imagine 50 years from now, wow, all new faces. Wow, that's great. All the different people. 50 years ago, we have different faces, people sitting here meditating. Wow, it's a wonderful idea. Just to know, yes, we are just causes and conditions, just four elements, coming together, sustaining for a while, and fading away. All our wishes, ideas, relationships, all comes and goes and fade away into nothingness. Wow, amazing. What great joy just to fade into nothingness, to be a nobody. And that's what stage samadhi is. And that's why you're not a man, a woman, you're not Asians or Caucasian, not young or old, smart or intelligent. All those ideas, those are just world of thoughts and naming. With stillness, you're gone beyond all that. You're to a place of stillness. And with stillness, you see clearly that so much of our suffering is self-inflicted and unnecessary and optional. We hold on to things and we make it ourselves. What people say, we like the good stuff, so we hold on to that. But even the best that we hold on to, oh, she called me stupid. Oh, she called me stupid. I'm not stupid. I've got lots of degrees. Or whatever. Voices comes and go. It's good, the bad, and the ugly. We learn to let that go, to leave it all behind. So whenever you're suffering, always remember, what is it that you're holding on to it? What is it that you're making yourself out of? What is it that you're attaching to? Remember, everything that we attach to is like a red piece of hot coal. It will burn you. Sometimes we don't notice it. We hold on. Sometimes we get used to the feeling of burning. We like it. We think it's ours. But really, just let go. I know it's an overused word. But sometimes, but the letting go is not something, it's a good thing to also, something to remind you guys. Letting go is not an act of will. Letting go is something that happens naturally when you see clearly. Until then, you have to establish the condition where letting go happens. If you're the one still letting the go, oh, I'm greedy, so I'm going to let go of my sweets. Okay, you will let go of your cake, but you'll pick up something else later. When you see that, yeah, okay, cakes are nice, but it's just a taste. It just comes and goes, never mind. You have it, it's good. If you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. Then you're at peace. You don't have to force yourself. Let go of this, let go of that. Because when you have craving, it's a stimulate. When you have an arm will pick up thing up. So we have craving, pick one thing up. You try to let go and put that down. Tomorrow, pick something else up. You let go, you put this down, and this arm starts to pick something else. That's the nature of the defilements of craving. Always constantly picking things up, making it to yourself, or just holding on to it, believing that we're being happiness, being security. But then sometimes you see clearly. Sometimes we think, oh, I've got my possessions. It's good to have, a nice, comfortable house, 4-bedroom house. Then the kids are growing up, and maybe I should get another house for the kids. So I get a second house for the kid. I just get when they grow up, they have something to live in. It's be nice. And then, interest rate's pretty low. Everybody says I should buy another one. So I get a third house, just for rental property or something. And you think, oh yeah, okay, maybe that's enough. And then of course, interest rate shot up, and you realize, oh my God, I'm not the owner of my house. My house is the one that owning me. Because then you're thinking, how do I pay off all these mortgages? How do I get myself into this? You think, oh, the 3 houses, I don't really own the 3 houses. Those 3 houses own me. The cars own me. Because you constantly worry about what to do with the cars, and you have to wash it, and who's gonna put a dent into it when you drive around. You can't let anybody borrow your nice car because they'll put a dent into it, and you can't go to the Wat Buddha Dhamma because the road is too rough. So you go worry, all sorts of worry when you have things. Actually, and then we think we own things. No, the things own us. We're just constantly worrying about them. We have to clean them, looking after them. So with true wisdom, we can use things, but don't allow them to cause us more suffering. To use them, and then, with wisdom, with clarity, you look after them, but yes, no matter how well you look after your possession, they will break down eventually, get stolen. Something happens to them. So with wisdom, you can live in the world at peace, with stillness, with care and compassion naturally. That's the beauty of wisdom. When the defilements are suppressed through samadhi, then the heart is open. So natural qualities of kindness and compassion arises naturally. You don't have to think, I should be kind, or I should be gentle. It comes out naturally when your defilement is gone. It's not something you have to try to do. But until then, it's good to try. If you're going to have to try to do something, you certainly try to be nice, as opposed to its opposite. Try to be nice and kind and gentle, as opposed to trying to be obnoxious and mean and selfish. Because the mind inclined towards its opposite. So as practitioner, hopefully you are working every day to incline the mind towards more gentleness, kindness, forgiveness. But when you have stillness, the mind is in samadhi, true wisdom arises, these qualities are developed, become abundant, become, fulfill. So it becomes complete. These beautiful qualities of kindness and compassion, of forgiveness, of acceptance, unbounded. So those are the 5 spiritual qualities that we could reflect on, develop from time to time to empower our practice. Faith, energy, mindfulness, stillness, and wisdom. So I offer that for your reflection tonight.